Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we explore the world's most dangerous economic choke point. Imagine the entire global economy relying on a 21-mile stretch of sea. Every single day, 20% of the world's oil flows right through the narrow Strait of Hormuz. If this vital valve closes for just a few weeks, a catastrophic financial meltdown will begin. Is this tiny passage the ultimate trigger for a devastating world war over black gold? Look closely at the satellite imagery of the vast, deep blue Middle Eastern ocean waters. From high above, the expansive Persian Gulf slowly narrows into a highly congested channel. Massive supertankers, heavily loaded with crude oil, navigate these extremely treacherous waters. According to economic analysts, this single route sustains the entire modern global market. Towering steel vessels, weighing many hundreds of thousands of tons, move slowly across the calm sea. The relentless global demand for fossil fuels creates a never-ending line of massive ships. On the bridge, civilian captains stare anxiously through heavy binoculars at the bright horizon. They must carefully guide their colossal vessels through a shipping lane that is incredibly tight. Just a minor navigational error here could cause a catastrophic environmental disaster. On the southern side, the peaceful coastlines of Oman and the United Arab Emirates watch silently. But it is the rugged, mountainous northern shore of Iran that casts a dark, intimidating shadow. Beneath the surface, the dark, crude oil flows like the lifeblood of our modern industrial civilization. Each flashing radar dot represents many millions of dollars in highly volatile liquid energy. This constant stream of wealth creates an atmosphere of extreme paranoia and endless suspicion. The sun beats down mercilessly on the rusted painted steel of these gigantic floating fortresses. Sailors wipe sweat from their brows as they maintain complex industrial piping systems on the deck. The deafening sound of massive diesel engines constantly echoes across the shimmering water. Every nation on Earth silently prays that these cargo ships reach their final destination safely. Because without this continuous supply, the mechanical heartbeat of modern society will stop. A quarter of the world's liquefied natural gas also travels through this incredibly tight bottleneck. It is a geographical curse that forces enemies to share the exact same narrow strip of water. For decades, political tensions have simmered violently beneath the calm surface of the Persian Gulf. The sheer scale of these tankers makes them incredibly vulnerable to sudden, asymmetric attacks. Turning these behemoths around in an emergency is simply impossible in such a tight space. They are basically massive floating targets, carrying highly flammable payloads through a war zone. Military leaders carefully map out every single inch of this critical maritime zone. The tactical sand tables glow brightly in command centers across the world, analyzing the deep risk. Any disruption here instantly sends violent shockwaves through every stock exchange on the planet. Fuel prices would double overnight, destroying the purchasing power of everyday citizens. A global recession hits with the devastating force of an unstoppable economic tsunami. Thousands of massive manufacturing plants in Asia rely completely on this steady stream of fuel. Without power, assembly lines will grind to a halt, causing massive unemployment and deep unrest. The modern supply chain is a delicate web. and the Strait of Hormuz is the most critical spider. This 21-mile gap is the fragile thread holding the entire global financial system together. And unfortunately, the power to cut this thread lies hidden in the shadows of the northern coast. Deep within the rocky coastal mountains, Iranian commanders carefully monitor glowing green screens. They stand inside heavily fortified bunkers, analyzing the movement of international fleets. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard controls a vast arsenal of deadly anti-ship cruise missiles. These weapons are cleverly hidden in subterranean caves, completely invisible to enemy satellites. Historical records confirm their explicit warning. If we cannot export, nobody else will either. This is not merely an empty threat. It is the absolute core of their asymmetric naval doctrine. They understand that shutting down the strait is the ultimate weapon of mass economic destruction. By simply deploying sea mines into the narrow channel, they can paralyze global trade in an instant. Insurance premiums for commercial shipping would skyrocket to completely unsustainable levels. Shipping companies would refuse to risk their multi-million-dollar vessels in a hostile combat zone. The resulting blockade would starve the world of energy, causing a rapid collapse of civil society. Food transportation would cease, plunging millions of vulnerable people into immediate starvation. This apocalyptic scenario is exactly what makes the tactical standoff so incredibly terrifying. The commanders in the bunkers know they possess the geographical advantage in this deadly game of chess. They do not need to win a conventional war. They simply need to disrupt the flow of oil long enough. Their dark green tactical uniforms blend perfectly into the shadows of the underground command centers. With their arms crossed, they closely watch the glowing radar blips represent the fragile lifeblood of the West. Sanctions and political pressure only tighten the spring of this dangerous global mousetrap. When diplomatic negotiations fail, the chance of a catastrophic military blockade rises. The global economy is effectively being held hostage by the geography of this small strait. It is a delicate balance of terror, where a single miscalculation could ignite an absolute inferno. The red numbers on the stock market simulators constantly remind leaders of the devastating stakes. Imagine waking up to find that the energy required to heat your home has suddenly become unaffordable. This is the chilling reality that international military analysts lose sleep over every single night. The vulnerability of our modern infrastructure has never been so starkly exposed to the entire world. We have built a sprawling global civilization that relies entirely on a fragile choke point. The strategic value of this narrow waterway surpasses any gold mine or diamond reserve. To control the Strait of Hormuz is to literally hold the beating heart of the world in the palm of your hand. And the military forces guarding the northern shore are fully prepared to squeeze that heart if necessary. Their determination is fueled by decades of deep grievances and fierce ideological pride. They view their control over the strait as a divine right and a crucial tool for national survival. The tension in the air is clearly palpable, thick, like the heavy humidity that blankets the Persian Gulf. You can almost hear the ticking of a deadly countdown clock, echoing through the mountains of the rugged coastline. Before analyzing this explosive situation, I want to ask you a very difficult question. Would you sacrifice thousands of lives just to prevent the cost of global energy from skyrocketing? To prevent this absolute disaster, the United States deployed the mighty Fifth Fleet to the Kingdom of Bahrain. This massive armada serves as the ultimate maritime police force to ensure the continuous flow of oil. Gargantuan nuclear-powered aircraft carriers slice aggressively through the deep waters of the Gulf. They project an intimidating aura of absolute military supremacy across the Middle East. On the expansive flat flight deck, naval aviators prepare for continuous, high-stakes patrol missions. Fighter jets roar violently into the sky, leaving thick trails of heat distortion in the burning atmosphere. Inside the cockpit, pilots grip the flight stick tightly, their faces hidden behind dark, reflective visors. They scan the horizon endlessly, ready to neutralize any immediate threat to shipping lanes. Below the clouds, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers use the Aegis combat system to track every single movement. These advanced warships act as an impenetrable shield, protecting the vulnerable tankers from incoming strikes. In the dimly lit Combat Direction Center, the Fleet Admiral leans intently over a glowing tactical map. His weathered face reflects the heavy burden of preventing a global, catastrophic economic collapse. Every decision he makes carries the profound weight of global stability and billions of dollars. Maintaining this massive forward presence costs American taxpayers billions of dollars every single year. It is a staggering financial investment, dedicated entirely to securing the world's petroleum supply chain. The sheer mechanical power of the Fifth Fleet is a breathtaking testament to modern industrial warfare. Hundreds of thousands of tons of military-grade steel create an undeniable barrier against potential blockades. Helicopters constantly buzz overhead, performing vital reconnaissance missions along the rugged, rocky coast. Communication lines crackle endlessly with encrypted military radio chatter and tactical updates. This overwhelming display of force is designed to crush any aggressive thoughts before they even form. This high-stakes psychological operation broadcasts pure American military dominance to the enemy. The civilian tanker captains breathe a temporary sigh of relief when they see the gray hulls in the distance. They know that as long as the carriers are patrolling, the oil will continue to flow safely to the global market. But this massive defensive shield creates a fascinating paradox in the history of modern naval warfare. These incredible, massive steel titans serve as floating fortresses to deter any regional hostility. However, this incredible show of force does not guarantee absolute safety in the narrow strait. The conventional strength of an aircraft carrier has a significant vulnerability. A giant ship cannot easily maneuver through an incredibly tight and dangerous bottleneck. This geographical reality leads to a profound and permanent military stalemate. The Iranian Navy completely abandons traditional large-scale battleship doctrines. They realize they cannot match the sheer mechanical output of the United States military. Instead, they adopt a terrifying philosophy of deadly, asymmetric naval warfare. They completely weaponize the rugged coastline, turning the rocky terrain into a massive fortress. Their true tactical power lies within many thousands of heavily armed, fast-attack swarm speedboats. These agile vessels are practically invisible to massive strategic radar systems. They bounce violently across the massive, choppy waves, carrying powerful, deadly anti-ship rockets. The armed militiamen operating these small boats hide their faces behind tactical patterned scarves. They are deeply motivated by a fierce nationalist pride and complete unwavering loyalty. They absolutely understand that speed and numbers can easily overwhelm a giant steel Goliath. When given the final order, they swarm their massive targets like a highly coordinated hive of bees. This incredibly unique swarm tactic is specifically designed to confuse close-in weapon systems. Just imagine dozens of incredibly fast boats suddenly emerging from the blinding sunset glare. Even a heavy machine gun mounted on a small boat can inflict devastating, localized damage. But more importantly, they can quickly deploy thousands of floating sea mines into the narrow lane. Even a single submerged explosive device can paralyze the entire global economy. The psychological impact of these invisible weapons causes massive market panic. Major global insurance companies instantly refuse to cover vessels entering the Gulf. And without proper insurance, the massive crude oil supertankers simply cannot legally sail. Hidden deep behind the swarming boats, the coastal mountains conceal highly advanced stealth cruise missiles. Heavy mobile launch platforms constantly shift their positions inside the dark, deep, rocky caverns. These deadly weapons are pre-targeted at every single square inch of the 21-mile choke point. The exact moment a conflict ignites, a massive missile barrage completely saturates the sky. Naval experts warn that defending against a simultaneous strike is nearly impossible. Therefore, the narrow Strait of Hormuz easily becomes the ultimate geopolitical powder keg. Two completely opposite military philosophies face each other at point-blank range. The overwhelming mechanical power of the Fifth Fleet meets the terrifying agility of the swarm. It is an incredibly deadly game of chicken, played with the lifeblood of the modern industrial world. A single misunderstanding on the radio could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction. Even a nervous gunner pulling the trigger too early might accidentally start a massive global war. Every single sunset over the deep blue waters brings a terrifying new wave of extreme anxiety. The dark red, glowing lighting of the dusk perfectly matches the bloody economic stakes involved. The American admirals must maintain their aggressive deterrence without ever crossing the deadly line. Meanwhile, the Iranian commanders constantly probe the defensive perimeter to test their resolve. Neither side can ever afford to retreat, and neither side can afford a massive, devastating full-scale battle. We are constantly living right on the absolute brink of a terrifying worldwide financial apocalypse. The civilian tanker captains continue their slow and incredibly terrifying journey through the gauntlet. They pray that the fragile geopolitical balance holds together for just one more single day. The ultimate fate of Asian factories and global consumers depends entirely on this fragile peace. The 21-mile choke point remains an unsolvable puzzle for modern global military strategists. It proves that pure geographic luck can hold entire powerful superpowers completely hostage. The black gold will continue to flow, but the terrifying underlying threat will never truly disappear. The powerful engines of the massive fleets will roar continuously into the dark, uncertain, modern night. The narrow Strait of Hormuz remains a permanent standoff between massive aircraft carriers and speedboats. Would you actually risk launching a massive global war to keep this oil flowing? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Please always remember to like, share, and subscribe for more incredibly thrilling geopolitical videos.